Hi guys, so in this video I'll be showing you how you can make your own tote bag from scratch. And this tote bag isn't a regular tote bag, it's reversible as well. So if you want to find out how you can make this, then make sure you keep on watching. So I'm going to put the patterns on the screen for this tote bag. It's literally like 4 rectangles, but just so you have the dimensions, I'm going to do that. And then what I'm going to do, so I'm just going to make sure that I cut out those 4 pieces. And lay 2 of those rectangles together and the other 2 together, preferably right side facing, but if your fabric is like mine and it's hard to see the right side, then that's fine. Then I'm going to stitch along the 3 lines so it forms more of a bag shape, and I'm doing that for both squares or both sections as well. For this stitch I'm using a regular straight stitch. I'll put the tension and the width of my stitch on the screen so that you can follow that if you want to, and just for reference as well, I'll put it in the description, but I'm using calico fabric to make this tote bag. So once I've stitched along those 3 sides, the next thing I'm going to do, I'm just going to clip off the bottom or the corners of the sides that we've sewn, just to make it a bit flatter, so then when we eventually flip it inside out it looks really flat. Then starting with one of the rectangles, I am pinching again the corners at the bottom, and I'm trying to make a triangle shape. So I'm laying it, the seams together so it's flat, and it forms a triangle at the bottom. And then I'm going to measure with my tape measure 1.5 inches. So from the top of the triangle down 1.5 inches, and then I'm going to pin that line. I'm going to pin across, all the way across, so it's going to look like an equilateral, if I'm saying the right triangle shape. It's going to look like an equilateral triangle, and I'm going to do that for both sides for this piece, and then both sides for the other tote bag piece that we've sewn as well. And then once I've done that, I'm going to go onto my sewing machine and I'm going to stitch across the lines that we've pinned. So I'm stitching that triangle, and that's what's going to make our bag kind of have like a 3D effect, so it can hold a bit more. Then once I have sewn those corners, why am I struggling to say that? Then I'm going to grab my scissors again and I'm just going to clip or cut the triangle off. I'm not cutting into the seam, so I'm leaving about a 1/4 inch or like a 1/2 inch seam allowance. Yeah, it looks more like a 1/4 inch, so I'm leaving a 1/4 inch seam allowance, and I'm cutting off the triangle, and I'm doing that for the 4 triangle little pieces that we've sewn. And then that is going to make sure again that when we flip this inside out, it's going to be flat because we've cut off like the bulkiness. At this point, this is what it should be looking like, so kind of like an inside out bag. And then what we're going to do, we're going to flip these pieces inside out or outside in. So we're only flipping one of the pieces right side out, and then what we're going to do for the other piece that hasn't been turned around, so with the raw edge showing, I cannot say that for the life of me, we're going to insert that into the first piece that you can see here, and that way it's going to, so when you look inside the bag, it's going to look seamless inside, and then it's also going to look seamless outside, which is exactly what we want if we're going for this reversible tote bag look. So then I just neatened up the edges because it wasn't that even on mine. So just make sure you pay extra attention when you're using the pattern pieces to cut out those 4 rectangles evenly. Then I went in with a tape measure and I measured out 1 inch going all the way around for seam allowance just at the top, and I folded it inside on both sides. And then I'm pinning all the way around. Hopefully the visual can explain it a bit better. But as you can see, yep, I've measured 1 inch seam allowance and I've just folded that in all the way around on both sides, and I've pinned it together. A key to making sure this tutorial goes as smoothly as possible for you as well, if possible, press your seams flat. It will make such a difference to the stitches that you make, and it will make it so much easier to stitch neatly as well. So I'm actually not going to stitch my bag just yet. I'm moving on to my straps, and then we're going to sew that, and then we're going to attach the straps onto the bag, and then we will be done. So I'm going ahead and marking out my measurements for the straps that I have. There's 2 straps that you will need to cut out, and I will put the measurements on the screen so that you can follow that. In the end, I adjusted my straps to make them a tiny bit shorter, but I'll make sure to add the correct measurements so that you don't have to be playing around with it and adjusting your straps as well. So I'm grabbing my first strap and folding it in half, and I'm going to stitch the length of the strap with about a 1/4 inch seam allowance, and then I'm going to flip that inside out. But at the moment I'm just pinning all the way down and then I'm going to stitch that with a 1/4 inch seam allowance, and I'm doing the exact same thing for the other strap as well. So we have our 2 straps here. Now I'm just going to use my safety pin. I'm going to hook this tiny bit here, and then use that to turn the strap inside out. And I'm going to do that for both sides. So I'm going to do that for this one, and then I'm going to do it for the other strap as well. So this is what the strap looks like, and again I'm going to press this so it's flat for both of the straps, and then it's gonna look a bit more even, and then we can attach it to our tote bag. So what I'm doing for my tote bag, I have folded it in half, as you can see, and I'm going to grab my pencil to mark at that very top of the tote bag where I want my straps to sit or fit on me. If it helps, you can use like a mirror to kind of gauge where you want your strap to be. I'm just kind of eyeballing it, and then I'm making sure that whatever point I mark on one side, I also mark on all of the sides, so it sits at the same point for both sides of the tote bag. So at first I put my straps in wrong, so it looks a bit weird. So this is me now going back and correcting it. So at first I had like one strap going across one side and then the other side, but I want the strap, so one strap to just sit on one side and then the other strap to just sit on the other side. Hopefully me saying that makes sense. So as you can see here, I'm taking the first strap and it's pinned into the right side or the left side, and then I'm taking it onto the other side, matching it up with my pencil marking, even though you can't see it here, and then I'm going ahead and pinning that down. And what I've done is I've sandwiched it in between, so there's that first layer for the outside layer of the tote bag, and there's that inside layer, so I'm sandwiching the strap in between that gap and pinning it down, and I'm doing that for the other side as well, making sure to match it up with the pencil markings that I've made, just to make sure that these straps are as even and symmetrical as possible. I actually can't believe we're at the final step, guys. And the final step, we're just gonna stitch around the top of the bag. I'm using an inch seam allowance to do this. If it helps and you want your bag to be extra secure, you can do like a 1/4 inch seam allowance and then go back in and do a 1 inch seam allowance, just so that you have 2 stitches running parallel to the top, so it's really secure. Yeah, so this is the only stitch that is showing for the entire tote bag, so try to make sure that this stitch is really neat, whether you're doing 1 stitch to secure it or 2 stitches. And once you've done that, I'd say press it to make sure it's really neat as well, and then you are all done. Let me know if you found this video helpful, and let me know what other videos you'd like to see me try as well. See you guys.